just now. Just talk
Awesome. Awesome. I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Joel Saints. It's Barry McClain, Cara Tillitz, and Alec Gallant.
He's trying to take it seriously, folks. Keep him. He's a sweetheart.
We're here to review the movie Hellraiser from 1987. Andrew Robinson is here. Garrick from DS9, yes. How many has everybody here watched Deep Space Nine all the way through?
Not all the way through. No,
I've watched probably 80% of the episodes, but I haven't seen every single one.
Okay. I dabbled.
They're really, really good.
Yeah.
They get two best written shows: Dark Shadows, Deep Space Nine, in that order.
Okay.
That's pretty good writers on both those shows for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Barry McClain, Cara, when did you both watch Hellraiser? When did you first watch Hellraiser?
We've been together for almost 10 years, and I watched it somewhere within the last 10 years the first time with him. He introduced me to it.
Yeah.
So
I watched it first with my parents. I had to be about, I'll probably say 12. And but it took them a while for them to let me watch it because of the S&M themes in it. Murder and like the gore and everything is one thing, because my mom was a big horror fan and she taught me about practical effects, so I was never scared of this stuff. But it was I was around 11 or 12. I know that.
Nice, Alan.
Sometime in probably the mid 90s. Saw it on television, actually. Cable was coming into vogue in my neck of the woods by that time. Sometime early 90s, actually. But yeah, it was. I saw it on cable for sure.
The
only thing that I really remembered from it, though, because I hadn't seen it since, was the when Frank gets his just desserts at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
When he says, "And Jesus wept."
Jesus wept. I told you that was the line. But that was all Clive Barker right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it has his paws all over it, and his writing, of course.
Yeah.
That was the one scene I remembered from all those years ago. So it was kind of cool to watch it all again and realize that this is sort of a it's almost it has elements of gothic melodrama, and then it's got, obviously it's got a lot body horror for people who are into that. It's got build of tension. It's got all sorts of great stuff in it. It's
teenage angst too, like teenage angst.
Yeah. Oh well, of course. Any horror film is going to have like, oh, if you kiss the boy, you're going to be a target. Oh, come on. This is how it works. But that's nicely understated in this movie. As it turns out, the innocent does not get, taken out in this.
I love that, and I love that.
Here's a question for everybody. Ashley, the actress in this movie, is her character not necessarily psychic abilities, but is she being sent messages by God? Because this does get into religion a bit.
It gets into it a lot, but they kind of laugh at God in this movie. You ask me. Yeah. I think maybe it's a hint of clairvoyancy. I mean, how she figures out the puzzle so good, But that's as far as it goes with me. With that. Because
this was also on the age of Rubik's Cube too. So.
Yeah, it's amazing Rubik's Cube. It's 3 of them too, and the Mythos is only 3 of them.
Yeah. So she has there's some kind of prescience in order for her to solve the puzzle when nobody else can do it before they get tortured.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Very
nice.
Don't press that big button.
Yeah.
I had also forgotten the fact that the Cenobites like actually negotiate with her.
They negotiated, but you got to understand why they negotiated, because she brought to their attention something that never happened. Well, they
Right, because Frank escaped.
He escaped. He
Yeah.
escaped. But that's a testament to the evil, how cunning Frank is. He's a piece of
Oh yeah,
shit.
he's terrible. He's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Well, the Hell Priest and then the Cenobites. The Hell Priest points to the body. Who did this?
Right.
Because he knows it's not Frank. That body on the floor is not Frank.
No.
Yeah, and Pinhead is, I like how you put it, the Hell Priest, because he is the Hell Priest, because he's a Nazi. If you know his history, he's a Nazi. He wanted to fucking find out the pleasure, and he went as far and found out. He fucked around and found out, and he became the Hell Priest, one of the best of the Cenobites. All the Cenobites are different. A little bit of history. Not to, maybe we might talk about it in another episode, but
yeah. But yes, Pinhead seems to be the most sophisticated of them all. In some ways, there's another. I mean, each of them has their own sort of take on things. Some of them are more aggressive. Some of them are more, psychological.
They have their own curse, because they all have their own curse, and how I'm a huge Clive Barker fan since like Weave World. I got into him with reading this Weave World novels when I was like 11 or 12 before I started writing art. And he made sure that everybody's personality, they look match their sin. But you won't find that out until the second movie. Right. So,
But there is that, and that's almost like what ancient civilizations did with totems, spiritual totems that look like their quality, whatever that happens to be.
Definitely. Yeah. Great grab.
Yeah.
Yes. Great grab. Yes. And play on the totem theme, he did have something like a totem spinning around of flesh.
Yeah.
Like obelisks of flesh.
Thing with all the hooks and the flesh hanging.
Yeah. In honor of the kill, like each part of you, like it's just so twisted. I love it.
Yeah.
I love how Andrew Robinson goes from being the father of the year to basically playing Frank in a sense.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the smartest things they did in this movie, to have Andrew Robinson flip the switch and
he
play.
never gets to play somebody like that.
He never gets to play something like that. We were talking about that. He's always, every role I see Robinson in, he's always American Dad. Everything he ever played is American Dad. But when he finally got the chime, it was so ominous to hear him being so short with Kirsty.
Yeah.
Like he's never short with Kirsty. If anything, it would have been perfect if he would have just ditched Julia and they would have had the perfect life. The mother dies, like I feared that when for example, when I got with Cara, I was in a really bad relationship and I could have got with somebody that was trash like Julia.
She was trash, no doubt.
He was trash, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then I stuck to my guns and I got somebody pure, the complete opposite of me. Somebody pure. But I will. Go ahead.
I just wanted to correct you on one thing. Andrew Robinson did play one iconic bad guy role before.
Yeah, Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry played Scorpio Killer.
Oh, he did. But wait, that was so gruesome. He did.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the boss? He played the boss.
He played the killer. Yeah.
He was the killer in that, and he was the one. Yeah, that he.
Dirty Harry.
He was a freak show in that movie.
Oh, we gotta discuss that movie.
It was being made and done at the time. The what was it? The killer I'm thinking of, the
Zodiac.
Yeah. The Zodiac.
Scorpio.
And that's what Dirty Harry is basically ripping off the Zodiac in every way. And Andrew Robinson gets to play the killer. So
But he's a good Zodiac. Like if Zodiac killer was like that, you'd be like, yeah, man. Like So like that one guy that beat that child molester with a hammer, like when they sent him to jail, he was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm probably like, way to go, bro. Like
kind of double edged there. But but yes, it's true that Robinson also played a lot of like Ozzie and Harriet kind of guys too.
I loved him. Poor
Yeah.
guy. He was such a cuck. Especially
Yeah,
when,
he's a total cuck.
he was such a cuck, but especially the part with the movers come in and he looking at his wife. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I guess I go get the beer. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? No, baby, you go get the beer.
Yeah, really.
I'll move this goddamn furniture. Looking at my goddamn wife like that, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the actress who played Julia
She was
was
amazing.
wonderful. I
She
thought
was
she did a
amazing.
fabulous job.
Her face, her look.
Yeah.
It was like Eveline off He-Man.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was, and I mean, part of the price that you pay, or why you pay the price with these guys, is obsession. You know, if you want to go into the sin and all that, you can too, but it's the obsession that really brings Julia down. She's sexually obsessed with this guy.
Yes,
He's
she
a
is.
scumbag,
Yes, he
but
is.
she like wants to, have sex with
Yeah.
him.
To the point,
that's
to the point that she goes up into the attic and start reminiscing about that moment that
Right,
he committed
right.
such a cardinal sin, fucking on a wedding dress.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, dude!
Yeah.
Like, it was born
Yeah.
in sin. The love is born in sin.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Claire Higgins does a great job. What did you guys think of Doug Bradley as Pinhead?
The best, the one and only Pinhead is.
Yeah.
I can't get anyone else. You can change the gender of it, it still won't work. Bradley was so good. How he played, it's so subdued, a little pinky out regal.
Yeah.
It's like, what age were you born from? But we find out who he is in the second movie again.
Right.
Clive wraps a lot of shit up in
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
The fact
But,
that Ashley Lawrence returns for 2 other movies of these, part 2 and part 3.
Yeah.
This seemed to be a time where, because Jamie Lee Curtis does Halloween 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Sigourney Weaver, she's done 4 Alien movies.
Yeah.
And Ashley Lawrence has done 3 Hellraiser movies.
Right. Well, the world needs a survivor. Even the world of horror needs a survivor.
Yeah, because we need like the main antagonist and we need the main villain, which is Pinhead and Christie.
Yeah.
Freddie, he had Nancy.
Yeah.
For a good 4.
Yeah.
And then brought her back again for 6. We need that. But at the same time, I mean, she has a lot of unfinished family business. Maybe she is the one that ultimately gets away from Pinhead, you know, because they were going to take her too at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
They were like, where you leaving so soon, you know?
Yeah. But again, her Rubik's Cube skills.
I know. That comes into play. I mean, we might as well bleed it into 2 if you've seen 2. I mean, because the little girl that the one scientist that takes the mattress that Julia died on, which was one ace in the hole, Julia went. She crawls upstairs,
Right.
and then opens the box.
Yeah.
Because you see her chained to the bed. She opened the box.
Yeah.
To call him. Maybe somewhere in her heart of heart, she knew she was wrong, because after she gets fucked over by Frank, nothing personal, babe.
Yeah.
She does the same thing back to him as she rips his heart out in hell in the second one.
Right.
Nothing personal, babe. Beating heart.
Yeah. There's Barker's good about that. It's
Woman empowerment all day.
For every action, there is an equal reaction, and a lot of what he does.
Yeah.
It's very cool. But Frank is the ultimate villain. I mean, he's literally physically slimy.
Slimy! Like, he's just slimy! Like,
Yes.
He was the most slimiest son of a bitch I've seen in horror. So was Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
But he was so slimy, you can't portray that on film.
Right. Because it's not just physical, which is great.
So the kids,
but it's his psychology is slimy.
The psychology, because how Freddie would flirt with some of the girls in the dreams. I'd be like, "Whoa, she's underage."
Yeah,
and he was a child molester and murderer.
Yeah, he's sleaze. I mean,
yeah, they do reveal. I think it's in A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 is where they reveal he is a child molester.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had to put that intact in there, Joel. So make it.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we do that? I always put myself in that situation of them parents on Elm Street. Not to get off subject here. What would you do?
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
It's really interesting how because I remember growing up and how Freddy Krueger became the rock star of horror.
I know. I was him for 3 years straight.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
child molester, murderer.
You know, he was a total star.
He was
He
a total star.
did other films, he did other things, but that was his highway to the stars.
You're right, Alan. You're right.
Now in the one return, do you know who the returning protagonist is for Friday the 13th? I'll give you a hint. It's a man.
If it's not a trick question,
I'll give you a hint. It's a man. Started off as a boy.
Oh, it's Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman is the returning because he was the horror makeup artist kid.
Yeah,
and he keeps coming back. And then he actually takes Jason into the supernatural in part 6 by Frankenstein in this motherfucker by putting the metal pole in him and the lightning strikes it. Mm-hmm. But that's when Jason goes into the supernatural after that. But which was fine. I mean, they should have just kept it Frankensteined out. You didn't have to do anything else with that, you know.
Yeah, 3 different actors played Tommy Jarvis, the character, Corey Feldman being the first one. They did return Feldman a bit for part 5 for a flashback. Mm-hmm. The guy who played him in 5 wanted too much money for part 6, so they cast Tom Mathis, and so
I like him. He was in a lot of action movies and stuff.
Yeah. Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
Yeah. Return.
Yeah. Here's a question: where does Pinhead rank for all 3 Vians as a horror villain? Where does he rank?
What do you say?
Oh, I would say, for me personally, top 3, he'd probably be, and maybe me personally, number 3. I think he's like top 3, number 3.
That's a good pull because everybody loves Pinhead. Everybody knows Pinhead. They know will tear your soul apart. I mean, like, we got such sights to show you. We know his one-liners. Pinhead for me, I can't. He's in the class by himself because it would be Clive Barker's class.
He's very different. Yeah, he's more erudite. He's more
ethereal. Like
he has an intellect that a lot of other horror villains don't seem to have. They have spirit, but not as much intellect.
Alan, he's seen stuff that most of the horror guys would never see. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's been to hell and back. He's an
all the time. Every time somebody pops the box, you know.
Yeah, right. I will put. That's why I did this one piece called Modern Horror. I had to put them in the front, opening the box to all the other monsters in back of them. Mm-hmm. I can't. That's why I will put him as number 1. Yeah. But personally, I mean, he's not 1 through 5 for me. It's more 1. I would even put Basket Case before him, but that's just my heart.
Right.
You know, like me being a B-horror movie fan. And stuff.
Exactly. What you like is going to affect how you rate.
Yeah. So it's totally biased.
Yeah.
It's totally biased. Yeah. A good question.
I'll pick a character that's been more taken from and ripped off from than the Shadow, because the Shadow even took from him. Yeah. Count Dracula.
Right. Good pull.
So
Will Eisner. Well, I mean, not Will Eisner. He did the Spirit, but the Shadow. I don't know, man. Like again, it's like anti-hero.
He's. That's the thing. When people say who's the best person to play the Shadow, you need to cast a person who's played a villain.
Yes.
Because villains, that's what the Shadow is in a sense. He's a villain fighting evil.
Yeah, like Darkman.
Yeah, that's Darkman as a result.
It's the Shadow.
is a result of what is it? The guy who did Darkman. He was in the process of going to make a Shadow movie, and they didn't let him do it. And then he turned around and just took that and made Darkman.
Yeah, and I was Darkman. I won for Halloween contest in grade school for being Darkman. They called me a mummy. I was like, I'm Darkman.
Yeah,
you know, like, but my mom is
the second Darkman was Arnold Vosloo, who played the mummy. So
yeah,
the villain, yes, no, Liam Neeson was Shadow, was
the
Darkman.
first one, but
Yeah, the first
in the later Darkman films, it's Arnold Vosloo.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right.
Yeah, Liam Neeson did a good job playing.
Yeah, I wish he'd done them all actually, because he's brilliant in the role. I mean, he understood the style.
He did. He didn't try to put himself in it. He played Darkman.
Yeah.
You know,
and it had that sort of it had that comic book feel.
Yeah, because you got to remember
that character.
We're coming off of Batman '89.
All the shots and everything were designed that way.
And we had Did you play Dr. Giggles was the villain?
Yeah.
Dr. Giggles was the villain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But we coming off of Batman '89. And Crow is like kind of before or after that. So we were and then Dolph Lundgren's being a Punisher. I mean, it was the 90s. It was the go-go 90s, and anti-heroism was in. Like Wolverine, Punisher. Those were the heroes at the time. The American zeitgeist was like the little guy can take the power back. I mean, this is all because of Dirty Harry and
Yeah, and the Dark Knight was coming real soon in the early 90s as well in the graphic novels.
Yeah, I mean, with Frank Miller, the Frank Miller treatment that he did would have made heroes be dark again.
Right.
You know? We came very close to almost getting a Halloween Hellraiser crossover.
Please tell me.
When Halloween H2O happened, when you go watch Halloween H2O, there is a Cenobite on the porch of the two kids.
Okay, then that's the one where Busta Rhymes was like Busta Rhymes in that one?
No, Halloween H2O. That's the one with Jamie Lee Curtis, Hello Cool J. Okay. In the beginning, there's a shot of this town it sort of looks like Haddonfield, but it isn't. And it's Nurse Marrington Whittington. She's coming home. And when she goes over to the kids to get the kids' help, you see on their porch there's a Cenobite. Or it's either hers or it's hit theirs. I forget which.
Nice.
The reason you see this, Miramax not Miramax, Dimension had the rights.
Okay. Those studios, this was hard, dude. Like those are the studios.
They had the rights to Hellraiser at the time, and there was a conversation. Clive Barker, had wanted to do a Hellraiser Halloween crossover. He wasn't the only one. John Carpenter wanted to do it too, but
those two guys in the same sandbox, come on!
Explosion, nuclear explosion.
Well, too many things did not line up for other people, and it just didn't happen. But we could have got it, but
I would have much more appreciated, Joel, a new IP from them, because they're too powerful.
Yeah. Well, they were good. Here's the thing, though, too. Here's why I think it didn't work. They were going to retcon in a weird way. They were sort of retconning Michael Myers in a weird way. They didn't do it. If you've ever read the Halloween novel, the first the 1978 Halloween novel, it more paints that Sam Hain, the spirit of Sam Hain, is in Michael Myers. They were going to sort of follow that to fit how Michael could go up against Pinhead.
Yeah, but that's lame as fuck. That's lame.
That's what they were. That's what they were thinking about.
Look what happened when they did Freddy versus Jason. They tried to retcon Jason. Like, no, I don't like that shit. Eating the heart and all this dumb shit. Like, get out of here.
Well,
that's so corny. My mom told me to go see that. She looked the scene in my face. She was like, "I'm sorry, baby." My mom apologized to me. I'm rolling my eyes like, "Oh God!" Like Ninja Turtles 2. I'm like, Ninja Rap. Are you kidding me? Like, no.
Yeah, what's interesting, what I didn't know when I went to go see Jason X is that years later, because Freddy versus Jason came after Jason X.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
chronologically speaking, Jason X takes place after Freddy versus Jason, technically.
Yeah, it does.
So I've been told.
It does actually. And because then the mask, Freddy's hand comes out and grabs his mask.
Yeah.
The ground, and then you be like, okay, now they're setting up for the crossover because we stayed to the end roll of the credits, and so my mom with her little Bacardi inside her shit, and so I'm ready for it, but then when they had that black cop eat the fucking heart, I was like, oh no, the movie's gonna go to shit.
Yeah. Just trying to jump scare the hell and gross people out, kind of thing.
Bro, but I mean, like they were trying to. I seen enough horror. I grew up on Fangoria. It was our internet for the time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and I'm like, you just cutting corners with some shit like that, man. Like you could have easily had one of the kids from Elm Street go to Crystal Lake and bring Freddy in their dreams to Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
That simple. You ain't need all this garbage.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, too. I think subconsciously they were quietly setting up Freddy versus Jason long before they did Jason Goes to Hell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because when you actually Friday the 13th Part 7 with the girl who has the supernatural powers, that was supposed to initially be Freddy versus Jason, but it didn't happen, and then they did Jason Takes Manhattan. I've talked about this with my buddies Mark Gilman and Daniel Culver. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I love me some Jason Takes Manhattan.
I hate that.
But
movie.
I always feel the beginning of that movie is almost like a dream.
Yeah, man.
It feels like it's like, wait a second, why does this feel all dreary and just like when the woman's going to the boat, it looks like somebody's asleep.
Yeah. I see.
The title Takes Manhattan, because Takes Manhattan always reminds me of the Muppets.
Yeah, Muppets in Manhattan. That's why I was just like, this is the biggest crash grab I ever seen in horror. I didn't buy it. You talking to a guy that lived and breathed Fangoria magazine, man.
Yeah.
I know Rob Bottin, Tom Savini names before I knew John Carpenter name.
Yeah.
And like it's no.
Well, it was filmed in Canada, so no.
But
well, there was a lot of filming in Canada going on at that time at Vancouver, a lot, because
they film a lot there.
Tax breaks and everything else for filming in Vancouver.
Resurrection was filmed in Vancouver.
A little bit of Thing was filmed in there in the B part. What's that? Not BA in Canada. Forgot what it's called, but it was in Canada. A little bit of that film in Canada.
Yeah.
Canada's the spot.
The Friday the 13th, the series was filmed in.
I love that show.
Yeah.
That was, of course, 90s. There was a whole bunch of horror television shows on. You could watch late at night, syndicated stuff.
Yeah, and on like 6 o'clock on a Sunday, knowing I gotta kick my ass to school. I'm watching Friday the 13th, the series, and I'm like, it's so lame. Where's Jason? But then when you find out like the story, it actually worked. They were tracking down these idols.
Yeah,
pieces. It was great. It was
artifact horror, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but it came on after like Tales from the Dark Side, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a ton of great stuff, television stuff in the 90s.
So good. Golden era for me.
Yeah.
I remember the X-Files debut, and it's like we're
going back to it right now. We're going back to it right now.
There's a lot.
I want to do a pod about it, man. I want to do a pod about it.
Yeah. Great show. Great show.
Yep.
Chris Carter, fucking brilliant. Absolutely. I do think with Hellraiser, there's so much good psychology here.
Yeah.
Like, because I know a lot of people will talk about the gore. Well, here's the thing. I don't mind gore as long as you give me a good story. And Hellraiser's a perfect example of that.
I'm glad you said that.
You have great psychology with, I think Ashley Lawrence doesn't get enough credit for her sequences because she doesn't start off with the puzzle box, but she has this weird, it does seem like there's this weird connection with her and her family to it.
Yeah.
And you don't know, you really don't know much about Frank until you start hearing about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so criminally good.
Yeah. Criminally good.
What did you guys think of? Well, first of all, Andrew Robinson, the father, Ashley Lawrence's character's father, and the evil brother Frank's.
The evil younger brother. We were talking about that.
He's like the typical rebellious,
bratty
younger brother.
that got slimed through his way through life because he had an older brother that always handled it.
Had money, like he was successful.
Because he had to, because he was the oldest. I'm the oldest. It's always that stigma for us oldest to do it first, do it bigger, do it better.
Bumming off for the mom.
And then but then bumming off mom.
Yeah.
And then mom dies. Yeah. He gets to keep the house because he's baby Frank. Mm-hmm. And then his brother got his own thing. He let him look, man, let him stay in the house. The thing about the psychology of it is that it's a family drama. And then especially when he says to come to daddy shit, he said, "No, Christian, it's me, Uncle Frank. Come to daddy." Like he been molesting her and groping her.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there's a creepy dynamic there.
I love that. That was a good question, Joel. Again, it's about the pain that family was going through was very internal, and it was like a means to an end when he found that box. Yeah. What's your pleasure, sir?
Yeah.
And Julia's downfall, she never outgrew the bad boy syndrome.
Never.
Right.
Yeah. She was attracted to little brother because he was hot and he was forbidden and bad and all those things.
She wanted that money.
But at the same time, she wanted his older brother's money. Mm-hmm. And so maybe she did rise in her career and did something, but she still was mooching.
Right.
And she used him to the core like a true cuck. He ain't care. He ain't care about.
And the house just exacerbated everything in terms of.
It did, because remember when the dinner party though, Alan, when she kisses all the guys, the men at the table, and then looks at Larry,
him, and walks out. Right.
I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, my wife would never do nothing like that, dude. Like, I get a kiss first, then my homies get a kiss because they're her brother. Yeah. Like,
I love how Claire Higgins gets to be a femme fatale in a horror movie.
She's great.
Really good.
She's great, dude.
Performance fantastic.
You just Cara saying, "Fuck that bitch."
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Good job.
What the hell are you doing?
She got everything she deserved.
Cara hated her. That's how I knew she was good.
Yeah.
But that's true. It's like,
because I got a good girl. She was like, she no fucking slime balls.
But they always say if you really, really hate them, they did their job.
Yeah, they did their job.
True.
Like Mr. in Color Purple, right? Like we hate Mr.
And it's much more fun to play the villain than it is to play
It is.
Cara, I have a movie suggestion for you if you've never seen it.
What?
It's the original Double Indemnity.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen that.
That Murray plays a bad guy.
Okay.
You talk about femme fatale in that movie.
It's a 40s movie. It's very film noir. It's really good.
What's
her name?
Barbara Stanwyck.
Barbara Stanwyck. Thank you very much. She plays the femme fatale in it. She is excellent. They're both.
I love female villains, man.
I had a huge crush on Barbara Stanwyck.
Of course.
Because
of course, you had to, dude. Dude, I'm 44 years old, bro. Like, that was the type of chick for me back then, man. Like the business, like just look powerful, dude. Like my mom in a way, my mom's always been a dynamic figure in my life. But but that is what attractive to a boy back then, growing up in the 90s. Like you would see a powerful figure like Murphy Brown. I mean, she wasn't like supermodel, but she was attractive because she was so powerful.
Yeah.
What did you? There's a lot of great special effects in this. What did everybody think of the cool visual effects that we get to see in this movie?
I loved it.
Yeah.
They all make comments or they're the climax of something. So they all make sense. They're not just thrown in there like you were talking about the guy eating the heart. It's just kind of tossed in, you know, I mean, it's, there's no build to it. There's no fabric of the story. But there is in this. And
it is in this, Alan, because I mean, but how Clive does his horror, y'all got to watch another movie he did called Nightbreed. Where he made the monster superheroes. Yeah, but he made the monster superheroes though.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, that's when I really started wanting to draw horror. How he does horror is body horror. He is A+ at body horror, but he does art horror like Tim do with blood. Because when one of the Cenobites, the female, I think she's called the governess, her name is, she's running her hook against the walls bleed.
Yes.
It's stuff like that, the ethereal horror that he does is different than how you would get somebody like Rob Bottin does when it comes to all his type of physical and practical horror and effect. It's subtle stuff that Clive Barker does and skin peeling.
It's the culmination of a series of suspenseful moments.
Yeah, and he does a lot of sex in his special effects. Sex is in there, like a nipple will be ripped off. On purpose.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Cenobites are described at the beginning of the movie. They no longer know the difference between pleasure and pain. It's like it becomes the same thing.
Same thing. And then in part 2, when you find out that Jitters was a little boy, the one that Jitters his teeth was an actual little boy, you're like, what the hell this little boy was into to get that box?
Yeah, seriously.
You know?
Yeah. Freakish stuff.
Freakish shit, man.
I mean,
but the special effects were, especially for the 80s, were excellent, and they were not overused.
No, they weren't.
Story development took precedence over just jump scares and body horror. That was part of the story. That was why they were such a threat. That was why this kid, Larry's so freaking evil, and taking out all this stuff.
Right, but Joe, what you said when Larry flips the switch, that scene that he sells it when he goes like this.
Oh yeah.
And to put it back in place. I'm like, oh, that's so creepy.
Did you notice at the hairline it was kind of over there too?
Oh, so good.
Like, how did you not know?
How did you not notice?
You're just talking to him.
Yeah, you're just talking to him, hugging him. But maybe she's such in a panic, and then he's like, we took care of Frank. Maybe it's a bloody fight, or something. Maybe that explains it away.
Yeah.
It's Ashley Lawrence's character having faith in her father.
I think so. And she's also she's traumatized.
Yeah. When the Hell Priest, when Pinhead says, "Who did this?" and it's not Frank's body, and the Hell Priest knows it.
Yeah.
She says, "No, my dad did that. You're not taking him."
Yeah.
So she believes her dad won the fight.
Thinks it's right.
Yeah, I love that part. That's when love conquered all. That part. I love that one scene. I love that.
It's underrated as hell. That scene.
Yeah, I love that scene. I love that scene. She realizes that is her dad.
Yeah.
Well, when she comes back into the room again and she
realizes
the corpse there, she realizes it is her dad.
Yeah, and that's when love conquered all on that scene. I love that scene.
Yeah.
Ooh, powerful stuff.
What do you guys think of Ashley Lawrence? Because when she first opens up the puzzle box, she's in a hospital. So what did you guys think of that?
I liked it because it was one black dude in the movie. Second, I like the doctor.
Yeah.
We were talking about this when she opened up the box in the hospital. We were talking about how, Clive's version of hell was just like this cold, dank. Like it's not
this long hallway.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. That was the first time.
And that scene really was about camera work more than anything.
Yeah. With the painted background.
Yeah.
Like the guy that did the birds and everything like that, and a little bit of the thing. He does beautiful background painting work for cinema.
Matte paintings. Yeah,
I love that guy. I know he probably didn't do it. It would be badass if he did, but what they did with that, it was so cold. It was horrific. It was hellish. It was Unintended.
And
Shit.
just the way
That creature.
crawls.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
Yeah,
god. Oh.
it was like this is a good movie to talk about after Eraserhead, because those type of effects were in play here. Everybody was trying to outdo Eraserhead.
Yeah, and everybody was getting into the special effects and advanced makeups and all of that sort of thing in the 80s. It was huge time for that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
I do have a request for both Alan and Cara and Christine for the Dark Shadows podcasters here with I myself have done 2 top 5 DS characters who would have the Hellraiser puzzle box. So I challenge my fellow Dark Shadows podcasters to do the same. Just saying.
I already know who I would want. I already know one that wouldn't definitely have it.
Oh, I got them all in my head right now. So.
Oh yeah.
But I got a number 1 that will definitely have it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say it now because I'm not in the shadow world.
Go ahead.
I'm telling you, Willie would have that motherfucking box.
He would.
Willie would have that
What
box.
to do with it, but he'd have it. Right.
Willie would have it.
Like everything
Willie
else
would have it.
falls in his lap.
Y'all, it will fall in his lap for so many reasons.
The practitioners, the people that would get it out there and into trouble would be people like Blair, Judah Zachary in the
Nicholas will give it to Willie.
Yeah, that's right.
Nicholas would give it to
Willie. He'll give it to Willie.
You know, would you like to buy
Sophie?
a quarter? You know, isn't it pretty?
For Tofi though?
Yeah.
Yeah, Patofi would probably have it at some point in time.
Yeah.
Desmond Collins would have it.
Yeah.
Threaten Aristide with it if he didn't behave himself.
Oh yeah.
Damn, that's a good question, Joe. God damn, we got really good questions tonight. Like, what the hell? What did you do today?
Yeah.
I had a cup of coffee before I came over. Desmond Collins would have it because he's the guy who brings the energy to Zachary.
That's right. Was that dude drunk when he got the head or what?
I know.
Yeah, he's an occult collector. You
just gotta lay it around like.
Think about it. He buys it as a gift for Quentin Collins. Really, I think he bought it for himself.
Yeah, he just wanted to
bought it as a
off,
gift. Yeah,
scare the girls.
It's hilarious.
It's like that time my brother bought me a gift. I'm like, you bought that for yourself.
Yeah, just to see me swear.
Come on now.
Every time we got games for Christmas when I was growing up, it was probably one of my other brothers that really wanted it. I didn't want that game. I want the Dark Shadows Barnabas Collins game. I don't.
Right. Come on, man. Give me that Barnabas cape.
I never got it, but I bought it later as an adult.
Exactly. That's the point. That's what's so cool about being a grown-ups, man.
Yeah, that's right. You can buy the toys you want.
Goddamn right.
Go to the.
Once you pay the bills, you're all.
Go to the toy aisle, whether you have kids or not.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. Well, it does make a difference. Yeah, obviously.
I bought a what was it? I bought a NECA Friday the 13th Part 6 and a Predator 2 from Walmart. So.
Hot toy.
Cool.
Yeah, nice stuff.
Yeah, man.
But what's Cara, Barry? What's Hughes' favorite scene in Hellraiser?
You go.
I mean, truly, I think it's Frank being reborn out of the floor.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Me too.
Like, just ew.
Me too.
Ew.
That's my favorite.
All you
scene.
see is spine.
That's a combination of stop motion and armature stop motion and
reverse cinematography. A lot of, especially when the spine snaps and then you see it forming.
Yeah.
It's melting. It's actually melting.
Ew.
I'm a student of practical effects. When I finally do my first horror movie, which I'm working on now, I'm putting all that shit into play. Everything that I learned back in the day from making vampire tea from fruit roll-ups and Starburst. And like I'm doing everything practical. But when that scene, you seen the pain, and I was happy that it hurted him to come back from hell. And
Yeah.
when you come back from hell, you're not going to be whole. He had to suck all the life out them rats. And then once he started getting his nerves back, he had to go to another dimension of pain.
Right.
And then when he get his flavor back, when he smoked the cig, he asked to touch Julia titties. It's like, oh my God, he's getting his dick back.
Right.
Oh my God, this is like, it's constant. That was my favorite scene, hands down.
Yeah.
The guts go back in, the rat's freaking out.
You see like all that
Yeah.
on the floor.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
good. And the fingers come out and then touch the ground. Like, I love that stuff.
Mhm.
I love that stuff. That's the best scene.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah.
Oh,
Alan?
I would say that's a great scene. A close second would be at the end with all the build and all the payoff when she time and time again has to escape these Cenobites, one after the other.
Yeah.
I'm here. Here's Johnny.
I know.
Time she turns around, there's another one.
It got slasher. It got
so,
slasher real
just
quick.
going like this, though.
I know.
You know, first time you see it, you don't know that she's going to survive.
Yeah.
It's great. I like that build. I like that kind of build.
Very good scene. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good, Alan. What about you, Joel? What about you?
My favorite scene is very simple. It's when Ashley Lawrence keeps encountering the devil, the man who comes into her
I knew he
store
was
and he,
Oh, that's right. The bomb.
Knew he was
guy.
going to say
It's
that.
really-
I
it's
knew he was
really
going to say that.
really good.
That was
It
cool.
is. Because at the end, they show the real reveal when he burns on fire and grabs the box
Right.
and then flies away. But the real devil, to me, is what's your pleasure, sir?
Mhm.
That was the real devil.
Yeah.
Well, all of them. Devil looks for avatars like Joker looks for sleeper agents.
Mhm, mhm.
And so just to know that this is a never-ending cycle means that anybody can live this. You
That's
know,
right.
it goes on forever.
It's an eternal thing.
Eternal thing. And Joel, that was such a good grab, brother. That was a very good grab. Like,
I was gonna
she
say, we
kinda-
haven't mentioned him yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's also that character is a full circle.
Yeah,
That
full
character
circle.
is seen at the beginning of the movie. You say, what's going on with this guy? And then it finally comes back. So,
Looking like Jesus too, which
Yeah.
I felt was genius.
yeah,
Looking like Jesus,
but not vibing like Jesus.
not vibing like Jesus. Man, Jesus was that dude, man. I'm an atheist, but Jesus was that dude.
Yeah.
Dude. I like that dude. Stop.
I remember my first, well before I saw Hellraiser, my first day at Bible school when I was a kid.
Mhm.
The priest there was teaching us. He said, "The devil will always come as someone who looks like your friend."
Always.
Mhm. Mhm.
Always.
It's just like, what?
No, but it's true. It's true.
Making you paranoid about your friends, right? You're the devil.
Like,
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
yeah, and he didn't explain
you're
that
like
any
6 years
further. He
old.
just left that as the cliffhanger. And it's just like, I'm going home to my mother. And she's
Wolf
like,
in sheep's clothing, though. But
Yeah.
Clive's Jesus is Clive's Jesus. He eats
Right.
bugs. He looks like a bum. He's
You
meek
throw
as hell.
fireballs.
Yeah, meek as hell. You know, walking in fire and shit. But again, to talk about this movie is to talk about Clive Barker, one of my favorite horror writer, hands
Yeah,
down.
he's a writer first. I mean, the guy.
Yeah, he's my favorite horror writer. First, I mean, Weave World changed my life. I suggest y'all read those short stories of his. It got me into short story writing, and it really kind of kicked off my my own. You know, when your parents introduce you to something, like my parents introduced me to horror, but that Clive was me that I can own. It was my horror that I can own. It wasn't Stephen King. It was, you know, it wasn't my man who did Clash of the Titans with the stop motion. It was mine, and that whole movie screamed him. It screamed him. From And Jesus Wept. That I'm just like, oh my God. There was a play on religion too, and sex and religion. Oh God, he was laughing at God.
Yeah, there's definitely elements of the morality play that he's woven into this.
I loved
whole thing
it.
as well.
I bring a tear to my eye. I love it so
Which
much.
is why he had to have the girl survive, I think, because she is unsullied.
And
She's
the
totally
women
unsullied.
And the women always survive in horror, guys. It ain't a horror if a woman don't survive.
At least one of them does.
At least one.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10. What do you give this movie?
It's a 10 in terms of its story crafting. It's a 10 in terms of what it did for special effects. Building on what we mentioned before that David Lynch was starting to do with his first film, with practical effects in particular, and makeup and body suits and all of that sort of thing that were used in this film. So it's a 10 for me.
Yeah.
What'd you give it, baby?
I mean, definitely, like, because like we said, Clive is a writer first. His storytelling is always a 10. Always a 10. So storytelling first and foremost, I think, just gives it a 10 anyways. And then
I thought another thing that made this film a 10 was the fact that it's essentially an American cast with a few British actors in it, but it's got a British sensibility to it because it was done there.
It feels like it. Like all the guys she came home to murder was taught with a British accent.
That's right. They were all British. The family's American, so you get that part of it because that's a different energy. But the whole British thing, Great Britain is Great Britain. It has a different feeling to it. The weather's different there. It has more gray days than say a typical day here.
You can feel it
here. So it's got its own kind of closed-in feeling.
I like how you
assists this movie in that closed-in feeling. I
like how you said that, Alan, because you can feel it from the pet shop she worked at to the subway they kissed in.
Yeah.
You could feel that dankness of Great Britain.
Yeah, and the house itself too. I mean,
the house itself, the design of the house. Yeah, absolutely. I would give this movie an 8. The reason why I would say an 8 because Hellraiser 2 is better than Hellraiser 1 to me.
There you go. All
right. But I would give it an 8. As much horror that I've seen in my life, I would give it an 8. Not because, I told you, Clive Barker is my #1 writer.
Yeah.
His whole zeitgeist, I try to mimic as much as I can when I can. But I would give it an 8 just because it was a little hollow compared to part 2.
Well,
part 2 fleshed it out.
The filmmaking gets more sophisticated in 2 as well as the story.
Yeah, it does. But he does a little bit of the same tricks too, though, that he did in the first one. But like you said, Alan, it does get a little sophisticated. But I would give it an 8. I'll give it an 8, the highest 8 I can give.
Well, that's a pretty damned high score. So
out of 10.
Yeah. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Really great movie. Just from a look standpoint, from a feel standpoint, and from a storytelling standpoint. You have all these interesting characters, a mom, a dad, his wife who has no problem bringing men home. And hey, you know what? She kills some British people. How American of her.
That's pretty American, but they weren't invading us, so that's very un-American. So we won the war.
Who won the war?
If she said something like,
"Very true," but come on, man, she was out there victimizing people for a rapist. So, like, come on.
George Washington would be proud of her. George Washington would be proud. Oh my God! I just think it's really smartly done, and Ashley Lawrence, for an actress who's very young, delivers too in this movie. All the characters click, and it's really good. So what is there a movie you guys want to do next, or when do you want to do a movie next? Or
how about have you guys done Something Wicked This Way Comes?
Ooh.
I saw that movie twice, but did you see it yet? You gotta watch that movie.
I haven't seen it.
You're gonna love that movie. I ain't gonna spoil anything. You gotta watch that movie, baby.
I'd be interested in doing it.
Yeah, we could do something wicked This Way Comes. You get this choice, Alan.
Okay.
I'm getting the next one.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Well, when do you guys want to do that? That's what I'm at.
You want to meet Tuesdays?
I don't know. Alan, you're busy this weekend, aren't you?
This weekend, no, not so much. I'll be taking care of my beloved because she's getting her COVID shot, and she always kind of gets all lethargic a couple days.
Yeah, we down with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to do it early next week, that's cool.
Tuesday's
Or
good.
even late this week is okay. Because at night I should be fine. I'll be at the house anyway.
Let's do a Tuesday. I like this Tuesday thing.
Okay. All right.
We'll do it
Next
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Something with.
It's usually our Twin Peaks Tuesdays.
I know, right? We do Twin Peaks Tuesdays. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, this movie has a great cast. It's got some really fine acting in it.
Incredible cast, dude.
Jonathan Pryce.
Oh God,
Really, it's his breakout role for internationally. It's Jonathan Pryce is in it. You know him from various things that he's done, I'm sure, including the stodgy father in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He plays the father of.
but this is like earlier him.
Yeah.
It's earlier him. He's
This
a
is
little bit more
early 80s
adultier.
film. Yeah, this is an 80s film. So
Yeah, she's gonna love it. I'm telling you.
yeah.
Links to Barry McClain's site is going to be in the description box. Link to Between the Shadows, a Dark Shadows podcast is going to be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Calling Sport After Dark, is going to be in the description box. I'm Joel Sains, and none of us have opened the Hellraiser puzzle box, so none of us are going to get tortured.
Not yet.
What? No, don't speak too soon.
Don't press that button.